We are in the Chelsea Physics Garden. Let us know if you can hear us. We're being quite quiet because there's actually a tour over there.
Because you don't shout in the library, so, you know.
So you don't shout in the Apothecary Garden.
Exactly.
For those of you that don't know, the Chelsea Physics Garden is located on the River Thames. It is the oldest apothecary garden, actually, certainly in the country. I don't know about anywhere else. It was built in the 1600s. Look, we've got people.
We've got people.
We've got people.
John is here, Ian, Nikon, Randall. Fantastic.
It's cloudy in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Let's just see.
A quick weather update for all viewers.
Exactly. I'm going to be interested to see for those of you that do macro photography, I am very interested to hear what you use as your tools. I'm going to be helping Con out. Just, I thought instead of you getting upset every time we do flower photography, we're going to embrace it. Yeah,
I just decided to give up. I'm not going to protest anymore. I'll just give in into this whole experience of macro photography and flowers. So, and I come fresh, so I'm going to ask questions, very basic questions. So hopefully we have viewers on different levels of their macro photography. So hopefully we're going to ask serious questions, light questions, etc., and hopefully it will help everyone.
That's right. I'm sure that there's going to be some people who don't do any macro photography.
Like me.
Like you. And our viewers as well.
Yeah. Let's go and have another live stream. Let's just,
Separately. Yeah. So I thought it would be really nice to come here. I've actually never been to the Chelsea Physics Garden myself, but it's somewhere I've always wanted to go. So this was a good excuse for me to go and look at some flowers, really. So we've got Sam on the camera today, so that we're both hands-free, so that I can so you wave to the camera this side.
Yes.
There you go.
Here you go.
And we've brought along, so I've got a Z7 II with my 50mm 2.8 MC.
That's your personal one.
It's my personal one. And then I've also got, although this is not my personal one, the 105 2.8 macro, and you put that on what, a Z6 II?
Z6 II. And we have this in stock right now. So finally, the drought is over. We got a huge shipment from Nikon. So if you're waiting for one, but you thought, if I'm going to place my order, I have to wait for years, they are in stock right now.
Yeah, so it only took a year for them. From the day of release to now being in stock, 12 months.
Okay, so Z9 by January next year? Pre-stock?
Pre-stock by January. I think that would be good. Well, actually, technically, it should be October, November.
Yes, some good news on Z9. They're actually coming through now. So we're actually starting to see a lot more frequent shipments.
That's right.
Which is really good news. So we are getting through our waiting list right now.
Yes. Now, a little bit more on the Chelsea Physics Garden for those of you that don't know. So as I said, it was established, I believe it was either 1673 or 93. I can't remember. I think it's 1673.
I wasn't born then.
No, me neither. And there are over 5,000 varieties of plant, most of them medicinal. Obviously, it was an apothecary first, so the idea was that you grew plants to then give to physicians, physics, and in fact, we were just passing a minute ago a display where it said that milk chocolate was prescribed for settling the stomach. Yes. So that's my excuse.
Yes, and I said something that we're not allowed to say on a live stream.
I also have to say a big thank you to Bob, who came into the shop earlier today and gave us a very nice contribution to the coffee fund.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed you, Bob.
Yes, he was at lunch.
Apparently, yes, I passed by and actually I didn't realize that Becky was there with you, and I
didn't see you anyway.
That was just me.
Yes. But thank you very, very much for your contribution to the coffee fund.
Absolutely, appreciate it.
I think I've managed to, on this live stream, actually make the coffee fund work, because there's actually like an extra setting that you have to do that I missed the last time. So on this one, they should be able to do coffee fund contributions. Okay, so
this coffee fund is open, as everyone knows, so you're welcome to it. We love our coffee. My mic is going places, which is not supposed to go. And there's super thanks button for people who watch us after the live show. So if you do find it useful. Exactly.
That's your line, sorry.
How do we sound, by the way? So if you can just tell us if we are okay. We are actually right next to the public road. It's behind the wall, but we see the sirens, the cars, etc., but hopefully, because they're very close to our chests, so hopefully you can hear us okay.
Yeah, so just to give you a point of reference, Battersea Park, where we've done our last live stream, is just across the river. So we are on just the other side of the river. It's a really beautiful hidden gem in London. You do have to pay to come in, but it's worth it, and the maintenance of the place is incredible.
I didn't know it even existed.
No, I know, I found it for you. Thank you very much to Adrian,
Thank you,
for your
Adrian.
contribution to the Coffee Fund. If you have any questions, to say put QQQ, and Con will try and keep an eye on the comments for me.
Yeah, I'll try.
And so Andy said he uses a 55 2.8, which is the manual focus macro lens.
Yeah. 200mm 4D lens was mentioned as well.
Yeah, also a lovely lens. 55 2.8, funnily enough, is not a one-to-one macro lens. It doesn't make the subject project life size onto your sensor. That's what that means. In order to get one-to-one reproduction, you need to use an extension tube, which is, in Nikon terms, it's the PK13, for anyone who's interested.
John Davis mentioned he uses 105Z lens and also Sigma 105 lens.
Which we haven't tried, actually.
Exactly. So could you let us know, John, how do they compare?
Yeah, because the Sigma is about half the cost, about £395.
And you need FTZ adapter.
And you need FTZ adapter, okay, but if you're using a DSLR,
you're good.
Then that's half the cost of what the F-mount version was before it was discontinued.
Yeah. Dave says Nikon 105S is amazing.
Yes, it is. Colin has the 105G, but rarely uses it. Thaddeus uses a 50mm enlarger lens reverse mounted on the PB6 bellows. That's next level.
You don't go easy.
No.
You know, you create a macro lens from what you have in place.
Awesome.
It's like, when I cook sometimes in the evening, I open the fridge and just let it come at me. You know, whatever looks at me, I just take it and I cook it.
Throw ingredients in and whatever feels right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much to Ian.
Thank you, Ian,
for your contribution to the Coffee Fund. And Pete says we're sounding better than ever, so that's good.
Oh, fantastic.
So we should just stick to the little mics.
We'll just stream from outside from now on.
The hundreds of pounds we spent on the...
Scrap all that. Stick to that.
Just stick to the little go-tos.
Don't even need lav mics.
No. Just plonk them on our t-shirts and away we go. Yeah. Michael pointed out that there are only 31 likes. Please give the stream a like. We are going to be wandering around and I'm going to forget to ask you later, so please give it a like if you can. Anyone else suggesting what they're using?
Well, Nikon, so Thaddeus says Nikon 50mm enlarger lens. You mentioned it with PB6 bellows. Okay,
yeah, which is an amazing...
Yeah.
Okay, we've got the sirens going now.
It's coming for us, after us. So,
quickly, run!
Yeah. Well,
I mean, that's really loud.
the Coffee Fund is open. So there's a PK13 mentioned. So extension tubes have been used quite a lot with macro lenses to get this extra magnification. So we've counted PK11, PK12, PK13, and there's PN11, right?
That's right.
So that's as much as I know. So tell me more about extension tubes, Becky.
Okay, so I didn't bring my extension tubes. I do have the Z Kenko extension tubes and also the F-mount ones for obviously F-mount lenses. Extension tubes essentially give you more distance between your lens and the sensor plane. So the rear of the lens moves further away, which allows the focusing distance of the lens to be closer than it natively would be. That also increases the magnification that the lens can produce, right?
I know that, but I pretend that I don't know, so you can find it useful. But the beauty of actually Kenko extension tubes, as well as for Z-mount they do those, they are actually also focus extension tubes, while Nikon ones are not. So
pure manual.
Exactly. So let's say if you use extension tubes, and you can attach 105 F-mount version to Kenko tubes.
Yes.
You can't use PK on 105 micro, isn't it? Because it doesn't have aperturing.
Exactly that.
Okay.
So with the Nikon extension tubes, sadly, they're completely mechanical. They're just a piece of metal that goes between the body and the lens. There's nothing fancy to them at all. So if your lens doesn't have an aperture ring on it, or if your lens is an autofocus lens, none of that stuff is going to get passed through to the camera. With the Kenko extension tubes, you've got so much more kind of capability, I would say. The Z extension tubes, they do two. They do an 11 and a 16 mil. And they work on the majority, as long as the focal length of the lens is longer than that of the extension tube, they will work.
Did you do a video on Z extension? We did, yes. I thought so.
I did.
Yeah,
from home.
You did.
Yes.
Exactly. So
the royal
as a communal we, you know. So John Davis gives an update on Sigma versus Nikon 105.
Okay.
So he says Sigma is comparable to F-mount version of Nikon lens,
right.
but 105Z is a good step better.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Rishi's video on the 105s, he actually did a direct comparison. He did the lab shots.
Yeah.
So he did side-by-side comparisons of the F mount and the Z.
There were some PCB boards or motherboards,
That's
computer
right.
boards. Yeah.
And the Z was distinctly sharper.
Oh yeah,
And
like day and night.
The rendering on the lens is definitely one of the nicest I find. I'm in love with this lens. So I am going to take that back off you before too long.
Yeah, true. I had to play with it. I was actually more interested how it renders bokeh for just general shots, you know, so for portraiture basically. And it works well. I would say in absence of true 105 portrait lens, this is very usable. It's definitely less nervous than F-mount version.
That's interesting, yeah, because you never liked the 105 macro F-mount.
No, it was big, chunky, I didn't like it, but I don't shoot macro as well. So for me, 105, 1.4, that's where it's at, really.
Yeah.
But I do prefer 85 focal distance personally. So I would go 85, 135 over just 105.
Right, I'm with you.
Yeah.
So a couple of the issues that we face when doing macro photography, a couple of things that we run into when doing macro photography is you've got obviously a very close focusing distance and a very shallow depth of field. So it's nice having an f2.8 aperture. A lot of the time you're not going to use an f2.8 aperture. In fact, you'll find it's very easy to see on the 105 because you've got the little window. But as I've said before in previous streams and videos on macro, if you're at the closer you are to the subject, the less aperture the lens is going to give you. That's because otherwise your depth of field would be so shallow that nothing would be in focus.
So basically, a very common question we have, people calling up the shop and they said, I bought 2.8 lens, and I'm taking a shot, why is it 5.6 or why is it at 4.8?
So
it's exactly for that reason, because the closer you get, the depth of field shows shallow, so that basically lens stops down automatically.
So let me just get to the closest focusing distance here.
Here you go.
Let's see if I can do it. So, am I at f32?
That's really good.
It's helpful.
Thank you, Raimo. We really appreciate it.
Okay, so from this distance, for example, I've got the lens here and I'm shooting that flower. Can you see that in the frame? So I'm at the widest I can go on the aperture is f3. Okay, I'm just going to use the back screen now because it's easier. Okay, now I'm at 3.2. 3.3, 3.8, f4. So I'm like in the flower and I'm shooting at f4 and I'm just going to show you, it's going to be a very wobbly picture, but that is what, can you see that? That's what's in focus. So the depth of field is minuscule. We will, I don't know about you, but at the end of this, I will upload my pictures onto my Instagram stories so that you can see the shots that we've taken.
Like Chuck from AP Studios, he said, I'm not really convinced about macro photography. It's not my jam, but you know,
maybe
I'm here. Exactly. Maybe you can change your mind. You know, so I'm here as well with open heart and mind, trying to soak all those macro shots in.
Excellent.
And go back to my portrait photography. You know, but I'm here for experience.
Okay, good.
Exactly.
So I just need to make sure that bits of tree don't fall in my eye or my lungs.
Today. I mean, it's not that bad, but you know.
No, it's kind of it's everywhere. We're under the most sort of sprinkly tree we could find. One thing I would say is if you're not a macro photographer, it's worth just dipping your toe in, because you can literally, I could sit in this little area right here and I've already found about 7 or 8 different shots that I would like to take, probably more.
She can, I can confirm that. I literally, everywhere we shoot, she finds a flower. Like, it could be like a concrete parking lot and she finds a flower there. It's ridiculous.
But it's not just flowers, it's other things as well. So I bet that you didn't realize that over there are 2 very small little toadstools, which I'm going to go and take a picture of. Now, I'm going to show you. I can do the 50.
All right.
I'm sure that this bench was not very good for my very light coloured skirt, but anyway.
All right, we got Seth in the chat. I'll ask Seth, so how would you shoot macro? You obviously use a lot of studio lights.
Did you see these guys?
Would you put some lights in there?
Did you see them?
Of course I didn't see them.
No.
I would step on them.
So,
really? I mean, are they tasty? Are they poisonous? Tell me.
I don't know, because I don't really know about eating fungi, but I am going to move
I'm a big fungi guy.
You are?
Yes.
I'm going to move this out of the way so that I can go, I'm going to align up this shot a little bit better. I'm not going to disturb them, but I want to get everything in. And what I'm going to do is actually shoot at a much smaller aperture than I normally would, for the simple reason that I want to get a little bit more in focus.
So yes, Seth says macro lenses are for portraits, and I do agree with him.
Macro lenses are for portraits or aren't for portraits?
for portraits are where it's at.
Oh.
I agree with this, and Becky would say they're for portraits or flowers.
Yeah.
All right.
So
you see
at,
it? Yeah.
at that close focusing distance.
All right, let me try. Yeah.
Right. F11 still only gets half of the mushroom in focus.
Yeah. So.
And with the 105, you're going to have an even harder time.
Yeah. So
So that's kind of what I was going for.
Oh wow. Okay, I got a cool shot.
You got a cool shot. You think you can fit everything else?
I mean, I can tell you guys, when the 800 was there, I said flippy screen is not for me, but
actually,
now since I'm a macro photographer, this is beautiful. This is just,
so
look,
useful.
you can just shoot like that.
I have to tell you, it really is useful. Okay, so the thing that I quite enjoy about the 50 is that you can get closer and you can get a little bit more in.
They're robust cameras. Sorry, well, Becky didn't see
Are
me.
you
So.
abusing the
I'm
camera?
fooling Seth, where he's smacking things with at night. I'm just going to hold this.
Clean my screen, and then I'll give you a wee preview.
All right.
Intentionally underexposed, but
okay.
And don't disturb the mushrooms. Okay, so you can kind of see that, right? So that's with the 50, and then in portrait orientation. So you've got a rough idea, and what's in focus is just that. Because these little guys at the front are not in focus. And that's at F11. Now obviously, if I wanted everything in focus, what I would need to do is shoot at maybe like F22 and get an SBR1C1.
Okay, on a scale from 1 to 10, how good is this shot? I would rate it at 3 personally, but...
I think it's a good first attempt.
Yeah? Is it? Do I get a medal?
Yeah, I give you a star.
Okay.
I give you a gold star when we
I'm
get
not
there.
impressed with this one, but...
Well, also I think you need to fix your white balance.
That's true. I actually didn't set it up. This is a shop's camera, so I actually need to set it up.
So, so for example, today it's really cloudy. I actually put the white balance on cloudy.
Yeah, all shady. Shady Becky.
I went cloudy.
Okay.
Because I wanted it nice and warm, but not too warm.
No. You see, I'm a 5600K guy. I shoot everything 5600K.
He does.
Because
I can attest to that.
It's just, like for me, I don't know why, but
you just like everything to be there.
It's basically almost balanced for daylight.
Yeah.
You know? 55 to 58, so I put 56, 57, I'm happy.
What do you do indoors?
When indoors, I may adjust it.
Okay.
But generally I also like those kind of natural, yellow, like how we see things. You know? So unless they're using those LED bulbs, which I don't really like, the white light.
Very unflattering.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to walk away from my bag, don't worry. I'm actually going to go and get my bag.
I'm going to change my white balance. So Kelvin, all in, 5600. Let's do 57 because it's a little bit, okay, here we go. That's pretty good in my books.
Have we got enough stuff with us, do you think?
Okay, so where are we going next?
So I think we should go this way.
Okay.
Because just around this little corner here is a nice little area where there's some beautiful areas. I have no idea if they're going to stop us from live streaming, but we're going to try and see what happens.
People do agree with me in the chat about white balance. Says 500K where it's at. I agree.
I drink.
So Z6, Dave says Z6 high ISO capabilities are useful too. It's often not possible to get closer subject to the tripod. You have to go handheld then.
Right. I mean, the thing is that I didn't think we would be able to bring a tripod in here, which is why we haven't gone tripod. But tripod for macro photography is very, very useful, particularly because it's a windy day, and a lot of the time, even those small, sort of subtle breezes will move that you don't realize how much a plant is moving until you try and take a picture of it.
That's the thing. I thought I had a continuous activated on my camera, and actually the plant was moving. I was like, it's not. It's on AF1, it's AFS. Why is it not in focus?
Yes.
Here it is.
So the plant is moving.
So
you've got fast shutter speed, small aperture to try and get
and tripod if you can.
Yeah.
That's all it is, basically.
These microphones don't want to stay pointing upwards.
No, I think they're like front heavy, isn't it? So coming back to white balance. So Eve says, Simon Stafford says, always use cloudy, just like you, whatever the light, and it works very well.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad Simon agrees with me.
So cloudy is a bit on the warmer side.
It is, I like it.
Than the daylight. So I do find it sometimes too warm personally.
Yeah.
But, they're quite close. And then obviously, if you shoot raw, and Becky when she has to, clearly, so, then you adjust in Lightroom or Capture One or your Pro processor.
Yes.
Yes? She'll kill me after that. So, you know.
I'll just slowly strangle you.
Let me throw Z50 and 24 to 120 in the mix.
Go for it. Don't get wet with the sprinkler here. So in areas like this, it's very, very dark. You'd want to bring a little light if you could, or a speed light, as I say. Unfortunately, the greenhouses are closed. But you see, even, okay, so this is one for you and Chuck, right?
Okay.
Not flowers, but look at texture.
Chuck, you hear us?
Yeah.
That's the one.
Look at texture and look at symmetry. This, you may not think it, but you can take an amazing macro shot of fern. I love ferns. I'm like weirdly obsessed with them.
And then you can put it as a background on your monitor, you know, on your desktop
exactly.
or your
and if
phone.
you go super atmospheric, let's like intentionally underexpose here for a second. This one is not as symmetrical actually as some of the other ones. But let me just, I'm going to focus over there. I don't normally use the back screen quite so much as I'm using right now. I'd probably flip that round so that it was facing that way.
That's pretty cool.
Nice and moody.
All right, let me now do my shot.
With the 105.
On the 105. And I normally go because I just want to get the texture, right?
You just want...
I just want to get the texture. That's all I need.
So, for your desktop background?
Exactly.
In fact, I'm going to...
Yes.
Just another tip here, when you're doing macro, right? Look at the background, because although you won't necessarily see the background because the depth of field is so shallow, you will get a sense of the colors in the background. So if you're looking for complementary colors, you might just need to change your angle a little bit. Like for this one, for that one, it's very, very dark underneath, so you've got all the brown earth, right? For this one, if I take a picture here, really awkward, but I'm going to try it. What I'm going to get in the background, or aim to get, if the wind would stop blowing, it'd be really nice, is the green. You trying to mess up my shot? You trying to sabotage me?
Exactly. That's the purpose of my life. Okay, here's my shot.
Nice.
I like it.
So you went super close.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then what I got was the green of the ferns underneath. Okay.
Now here's the problem, So I'm shooting at f11. At f11, in lighting like this, we are technically outside. It gives me 8,000 of a second at 1/25th.
8,000 ISO?
8,000 ISO at 1/25th of a second.
Yeah.
This is very high ISO.
It is. It's going to look very noisy.
Yeah. Should I convert to black and white?
So then you're going to convert it to black and white and everything will be fine.
And extra grade.
I realise I've taken you the way of the sprinklers.
Do we run?
Yeah, I'm not wearing the right outfit for this, but why not?
All right, now Becky's going to run underwater in slow motion.
I'm just like, which way can I go? I wanted to go that way.
Yay!
I made it.
I'm going to do this car wash scene where they wash the cars and, you know.
Good idea.
Hold on, let me just lift up my top road up a little bit, you know. So, okay, I'm going to go.
Yeah, but then, without getting hit by the sprinklers, hopefully these aren't moving. This is amazing. Look at the texture here. Okay, so I want it much brighter. Much, much brighter. Okay, and we're gonna just not underexpose this one. So here, for example, okay, I am kind of partially shooting in portrait because it's better for Instagram. It's portrait orientation for Instagram stories is much better.
I took a super cool shot.
Did you?
Yeah. So I shot up, so I have a cloud as my background.
So it looks almost black and white.
It looks almost black and white, so it's effectively a silhouette because the background is much brighter, so it's backlit in the plant. So, and in my opinion, it looks pretty cool.
So I'm just gonna, this is like 100% of these water drops here.
I love those drops.
They're great, aren't they?
Yeah, awesome.
Okay, don't know how much you're gonna be able to see on the backs, on the screen there, but that's a close-up. You can kind of see that, of that. The 50mm macro doesn't skimp on the sharpness at all. Yeah. I love the 105, but it's really good.
Right. Thank you very much, Jeremy.
Thank you, Jeremy, for your contribution to the Coffee Fund.
All right, let's see. So there's a white balance discussion.
What did Eve say? If Becky agrees, nothing more to say?
I think it's with the white balance and Simon Stafford comments. So, you know, you and Simon Stafford are the techies.
Someone was suggesting a small reflector. I kind of missed that.
Well, small reflector is good because you can fill in the shadows and things like this. The problem when you're a one-man band, sometimes it can be difficult, especially if you shoot handheld.
This is my little holding a reflector.
Yeah. But at the same time...
Are you getting wet? Okay.
Do you want to come? So, but if you are serious, you know, like macro photography, you may even want to bring flash to use a fill-in, or to maybe backlit the subject. You may have a little holder to, you know, little stand to hold your reflector. There's all sorts of things you can do.
There's actually a lady on Instagram
Yeah.
who has fashioned, I don't know if it's a product that she's made or whether she's bought it from somewhere, but it goes on the end of her like 105 or 200mm macro lens, and it's almost like a white lens hood. Because what she does is she takes very close insect shots, so it just
so effectively you
produces
bounce the light from all sides, so you
Yeah.
get the subject well lit. So so
Actually,
think about product photography on a macro scale.
Yeah.
You know, that's effectively what it is. So it's studio photography
Yes.
for tiny things.
Exactly.
Incredible.
It's exactly that. There was a company when we were at the photography show.
Yes.
Sorry, we haven't.
That's how you can get me into macro photography. You say, okay, it's like a studio.
It's like a studio.
You
but
can create things. You can
Yeah,
work on it.
exactly.
Now I'm interested.
Okay,
now I'm
good.
excited.
Then we
you
should have
know.
brought you a reflector for
Exactly. It's bring my whole, you know, luggage just with the studio lights and everything. So
you. There was a company that we passed at the photography show. Do you remember? And they had those little, almost like tiny little LEDs for macro
Yes,
photography. I kept the leaflet and I've forgotten the name of them, but I'd really like to try those.
there were quite a few of them.
Yeah.
There were quite a few of them. You could even put some different gels and all sorts of things. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Nice invention. I like things that make macro photography easier, because the problem is that flash is not always what you want for macro.
Becky, this is for you. Norm says, Becky, why don't you use a lens hood? Haha, Norm, you are wrong.
Okay, this is the one time I can be
We
proved
got
right.
you this on this one.
Here you go. Here's my lens hood.
This is the lens hood for this lens.
It's the HN41 Nikon lens hood, and it even comes with the lens cap specifically for this lens hood, because the lens is a combination. It's a 46mm on the inside, and then it's what, 52?
Yeah. So
52?
you basically,
62.
you've got two threads in there.
Yeah.
So which is very interesting for this particular lens. So one is for the filter, another one is for the attachments, right? So the ES2 attachments.
That's right.
You can potentially do ES1 on this one, isn't it? Or
Yeah.
not? Yes, you
Yeah,
can.
you can, absolutely. But yeah, I've got a lens hood on today. Ha ha.
Haha. You
I
know,
win.
And obviously,
Do I
you
win a
know how
prize?
I know if the lenses are Becky's or the shop's. Becky's lenses don't have lens hoods on them. She doesn't know where they are. She normally throws them away when she opens them. So.
It's actually not true.
No, they're still in the boxes, brand new.
Yeah, so if you buy a lens from me, the lens
Exactly.
will be pristine.
Pristine lens hood, mint condition,
All right, give me
mint
a break
plus.
now. Enough. Okay, I don't like this setup, so I'm not going to shoot here. But sometimes I feel like I should like it.
We have a Heathrow pass just above us. So
Is that what it is?
all the planes flying to Heathrow are passing this way. So all we hear now is the airplanes.
It's great. The air traffic noise.
I know, because when I lived in Battersea, that's all we
Used to,
heard.
right.
Exactly.
It's a bit like when you live in Kew Gardens and you have this beautiful house, but then actually all you hear is the sound of the planes going towards Gatwick.
That's true.
Oh no, Heathrow.
Okay, Adrian says Lume Cube for LED lights. So
Oh, Lume Cube. That might be it, you know.
David says Con has hood, Becky doesn't. Becky has lens hood. It's a tiny one. It's a very tiny hood for the 50mm lens. That's why it almost looks invisible.
That's right. I'm sure that they've caught up by now.
Yeah, so Chuck says macro photography is in my hands. So, and I say, Chuck, if you think studio photography, but for small things, it's like it's a portraiture for tiny things. Think
Yes.
about it this way.
Exactly.
It works for me.
Yeah, it's a good way to look at
Yeah.
it. So the other thing that I like using the 50mm for, or the other reason why I like the 50 as a focal length, I keep saying I love the 105, but I like the 50s because it's a bit more general purpose. So I'm going to do some faraway shots for you as well with this one. The 105, I have taken that with me and had that as my only lens as I go out and about. And it's challenging, but it can be done.
It can be.
It can be done.
I mean, the only thing about 50mm, obviously, you know, if you want to use it as a 50mm, it's smaller than 51.8, but
is.
obviously the aperture is not as wide.
No, but you get much closer focusing distance.
Exactly. So
which
there's a
works for me.
trade-off, but there's benefits as well.
Is the tour about to walk into us?
No.
Okay.
What?
I was just checking.
It's fine.
I was just checking.
Okay, let's see what other people say. So yeah, 50, I didn't use 50Z, but I used a lot 60D, and I used them for product shots like watches, rings, jewelry in general. So this is, for me, it was a good setup. So I used that a lot. 105 not so much, but I didn't have 105. I think I had 105 2.8D at some point. It was okay. It was okay, but 60 was my studio kind of pro photography lens. I used it quite a lot.
I'm just taking pictures. Is that okay?
Yeah, how's it going?
It's going good.
Yeah.
It's going great.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking maybe we should go this way.
Well, interesting tip from Jan. He says a reflector is useful. You also can use it to block wind, which is actually an interesting thing.
That's a very useful tip.
Yeah. And if you've got strong sunlight, then you can also diffuse the light this way. If you use just a kind of, transparent reflector.
So most reflectors
white cloth.
are like five-way reflectors. So you've got, or mine is at least. So I've got the standard reflector inside the little case is actually a diffuser.
So it's a diffuser, so you can use it to diffuse the light.
Exactly.
So that's good.
And then if you flip it round, if you flip the cover round,
you got silver and gold.
You got silver and gold.
And then you also got zebras with silver and gold combined if you want a kind of a mid result.
Yeah, exactly. So having one of those sort of 5-in-1 or 4-in-1 reflectors is quite useful, particularly if one of the parts of it is a diffuser. It is raining, which is annoying, but we're going to keep going.
Yes, of course.
Regardless. So I was wondering how you would tackle. Bee.
Yeah, I will tackle this.
The little honey bee. This is a very apparently yummy plant for the bees. And the thing with insect photography is it's much better for you to just wait for them to come to you rather than trying to chase insects around. Set yourself up somewhere where you can be a bit patient, and then you'll find, like for example, with a plant where it's very, very appealing to honeybees and things like that. The 50 is not the best lens for this kind of thing.
If you want to leave,
You're actually really close. I'm amazed at how close you are. Like,
I have no sense of danger whatsoever.
No, I can see that. No sense of self-preservation.
No.
But I'm amazed at how close you're getting. So you're going to be sort of doing a super close up on him.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the bee to show her face.
Is that what you're waiting for? So for example here, this is why I liked the Z50 with the 50mm MC.
All right, let's see my results.
I could get a zoom, a crop.
Okay, let's see. What do we have here? Okay.
Can you see that? It's a bit reflective, isn't it?
All right, so.
Wow.
Okay, that's not this one. Okay, let's just zoom out a little bit. So
very nice.
I could do with a little bit more depth of field. This is at F13.
Okay.
So I would need to push to about F22, I would say.
Dave says, believe it or not, the 100 to 400 is great for photographing bees. Do you remember I was shooting when we did the 100 to 400? I was doing the foxgloves.
That's true.
I will use any lens for macro. Literally. Any lens I can get my hands on.
Even fisheye.
Even a fisheye, I know.
Fisheye lenses can actually focus quite closely.
Okay, I'm just going to give myself, the problem is the shutter speed here, actually. Oh, and he's gone. Come back.
Actually, this lens goes to F40.
That's the smallest aperture, F40.
I mean, I get about 20,000 ISO, but that's...
Oh, I'm actually still I'm pretty pleased with that, considering, come around this way, where there's not as much glare. Can you see him? You can just about see him. I know, it's not too bad, considering I would not have chosen the 50 as my go-to lens for this kind of photography. It's probably about ISO 3000 though. In fact, I don't have that set up on this camera to tell me how much my ISO was. So, playback display options, overview, okay. 3,200, I guessed right. Yay, do I win something? For getting my own ISO.
Right. I'm trying them to settle, but they don't. No,
because I was told by a beekeeper that when bees see a lens, they freak out because they think it's an eye. I don't know if that's true or not, because I've not actually had a problem with taking pictures of bees before, but it's kind of an interesting concept.
Okay. I think...
I'm going to be interested to see what your shot looks like versus mine.
Tim Lam says, new 24 to 120 lens focuses to 0.39 meters.
That's right. It's great. I'm being proper rained on now. I got one shot there that I'm very happy with. He's still going.
I am using manual focus now because
the focusing was just darting
it's
in and out.
quite jerky, yeah.
That's interesting.
I mean, one someday it's fine, but because I am moving myself,
Yeah.
I constantly come out of the focusing area, so
Yeah.
know.
You are dealing with such a shallow
Yeah.
depth of field here.
Okay.
But for me, I could stand here probably for the rest of the live stream and find multiple different ways to take pictures
Right.
of the same thing.
Okay,
Let's
on a
see how you
scale
did.
from 1 to 10, would you rate it
Ooh.
as like 7?
I mean, in terms of technical proficiency, I'm impressed. Try and show the viewers.
I'm so proud.
Can you see it? Just about. You're definitely going to have to put these on your stories later and be like,
Yeah, okay.
"This
Look what
is-
I can do.
Look what Becky showed me how to do."
I can call myself a true
Macro photographer.
macro photographer. Okay, let's do another one. This one should be
Getting
just,
properly rained on now.
so you can get the texture of
The challenge is getting them in flight.
of the wings. Oh yeah, that's a little bit more than 100%. That's pretty good. That's details on Z6, by the way. So 24 megapixel camera. Becky's using Z7 Mark II, so it's 45 megapixels. So obviously she could zoom in even more and still get the details. So
That's-
again, sorry?
Richard asked,
Yes.
how do you find the autofocus with the 105 macro?
It's good. It's okay. If you need to refocus from, let's say, very close focusing distance, from the macro range to, let's say, 5-meter distance, it's quite slow. But if you're using focusing, let's say, if you're using lens for regular focus, you can limit it from 1.5 meter. No, you can have the full range. So if you, let's say, focusing between, let's say, 2 meters to 4 meters, it's going to be quite fast. You can also limit the lens to the macro range between 29 centimeters and 50 centimeters. And then you just limit that range completely, and then again autofocus will be a little bit faster. But yeah, if you need to refocus, let's say from something really close to something far behind, it's gonna take like a second or two just fully go through the full focusing scale.
Let me just give you a little demonstration here. So let's look at the display. I don't know if you can see that. Let's just go to close focusing distance. Okay. It'd be great if I could get it all the way to the closest focusing distance. It's going to infinity. Okay. So the closest focusing distance is what? 29, I think, centimeters. Yeah, there we go. Look how many turns it took me.
Yeah, you had to crank it a lot,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
So the idea, can you see that display there? So you can see that from 29 to 31 centimeters, which is just 2 centimeters, it takes a really long time. And you've got 33, 36, that's 4 centimeters. We're talking tiny distances here. So to go from infinity, so infinity is all the way over there. It's a lot of turning, whereas with the F-mount version, you can do it in, I can't remember what it's actually written as degrees of focus throw, but it's probably about 200 degrees, something like that, maybe 300 at the most, whereas this is like, focus throw is a few turns, so probably 600 or 900. Randall, thank you very much for your contribution to the God Fund. Pull on the 50 MC on the front lens and you get 3 more settings for closer shots. Yes, I will show you the same demonstration now.
And while Becky's doing this, people say, nice one, Con, not too shabby, Con. Well, if I can do it, you can do it, because I'm complete novice in this thing.
That's right.
You know,
Excellent.
so yeah, apparently I can take some good macro shots.
You can. All it took was a little bit of willingness.
Yes.
Okay, so can you see that? So it's 16 centimeters, so the closest focusing distance is closer on the 50. You've got 1:1. Then at 70, and you can basically just see, you can measure it. Can you see that, Con? Or 0.53.
So you got 1:1 reproduction, which is supposed to be a life size, isn't
That's
it?
right. And then you've got 1 to 1.4 at 17 centimeters, and then 1 to 2 at 19 centimeters. So although this one doesn't have a window on it like the 105 does, which is quite useful, you can still see how close you can get with manual focus. Actually, you can also do that with autofocus, although I have actually not seen it go all the way. I've never seen it extend all the way out with autofocus.
Actually, you know, people recommend instead of flashes as well, use continuous lighting equipment.
I agree.
We actually have a new small rig LED light to test, which we're going to film probably next week and test.
It's a bit too big for macro.
But it is possible to do with it.
Yes.
And then potentially, if you want to limit the light, you can put some snoot or something to kind of make a beam if you want to.
Yeah, it's true.
Unless you want a really nice diffused light, and you can put a massive softbox and use 1% of the coverage of it, you know, in the middle.
Yes.
But then it's going to be nice and soft.
But it's quite a, I mean, yeah.
You see, I'm trying to get things that I am interested in.
I know you're trying to make it accessible for you. Okay, so here we've got some poppies, one of my favorites.
Yes.
Poppy heads are great. You usually find little things living in and around them.
Yes.
I think you should take a picture of this allium.
Yeah.
It's
decayed, rustic.
It's not pretty.
Instead of Americano, we're going to call it Britannica.
Yeah, exactly.
The rusty Britannica.
That's what we do.
I mean, it's pretty good. It is pretty good. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, that's a banger.
Yeah, so I was going to say, that's your kind of cup of tea, right?
All right, this is F20 depth of field. It looks quite shallow, right? But this is actually F20 depth of field, because otherwise it would be too shallow. But I actually captured the whole
It's actually
plant.
shocking.
Ah, it switched off, yeah, okay.
Helpful.
That's pretty good, that's pretty good. Look, this is F20, right?
Let me see. Oh, yes.
But you get the shallow depth of field, but everything else is, you know, the plant itself is sharp, and you get the shallow depth of field in the background.
You don't really get a shallow depth of field, but you just have, your background is far enough away from your subject that it gives you, if that background was too messy, wouldn't give you the shot you were looking for, right?
And that's the thing, when people say portraiture, small f number, landscape, high f number, it generally works until you start to shoot macro.
Yeah.
And at that point, you can't really use shallow depth of field, like small f number, something like 2.8, because depth of field is too shallow. And effectively, you're shooting on the landscape, so very high f number effectively, just to get the subject in focus, because everything else is going to be blurred.
That's right. So the tip for complete beginners, I would say, is check your background. I don't know what's wrong with my microphone.
They perform heavy, I think.
I'm going to attach it to my bag and see if...
Patrick says hit the like button.
Yes, please hit that like button.
Definitely.
Thank you for also reminding me to remind you.
It's all appreciated. It helps to grow the channel. It helps to promote the stream to the people who are watching right now.
It does.
And if you actually subscribe at the same time, that's actually like pushes the stream even further to more people.
That's a double whammy right there. If you also subscribe and hit the bell icon and the whole jam.
Yeah, the coffee fund and super thing. Oh my God, now it's like I'm in heaven already. Yes.
So we can either go down there into the sort of like less populated areas, or we can go over to the little herb garden, which is over there.
Well, it's up to you. I follow kind of your lead.
Follow my lead?
Definitely,
okay.
definitely.
It's a little bit busier over here, but there's lots of pretty things to take pictures of. And the sun came out behind us.
Which is nice.
For 5 seconds. There's a big fat rain cloud over there, but
we don't go there.
We just try not to go to that side too much. But as I say,
there's a fellow photographer over there.
Yeah, I was wondering what she was
macro
using,
photography.
actually. Like a D3500 or something.
Well, you know, as a photographers, we always check out each other's equipment.
We do. It's really weird, isn't it? We just...
But you don't look directly. You do kind of side check.
You do like this little side eye, like...
Like you keep your face in one direction, but your eyes are checking what equipment is and what lens it is. We all know what we do. Let's have some lilies. That's, you know.
So do you see that pigeon right there?
Yeah.
I thought it wasn't real.
It looked like a figure, isn't it?
He looks like a statue, but he's actually just having a nice little drink. Wow, okay.
He just pierced.
We are very impressed, Pidge. Very impressed.
It's actually a clean pigeon as well.
Yeah.
It's, because he lives in Chelsea, clearly,
That's right.
you know, so.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So I don't have the right lens for getting that far away, I don't
There's
think.
some dragonflies in there as well, but I don't think I can get that close, unfortunately.
Well.
200 would be better, 100 to 400.
100 to 400, you remember I was trying to shoot dragonflies with the 800mm. The composition is impossible.
That's what you buy 800mm for.
It's just for dragonflies.
I just came back from Sardinia, and flamingos there are on display. Anywhere you drive, there are flamingos everywhere. And I just thought next time we review any big lens, we should just jump on Ryanair or EasyJet, fly for a day somewhere to Sardinia, just photograph some flamingos. In my opinion, it's better than some duckies, because I think I had enough of duckies for
You've
this
had
year.
enough
so,
ducks.
Yeah, but obviously you all seen 400 and 4.5, the worst kept secret in the world. So maybe when eventually we'll get one in, maybe we'll try that.
Are you talking about that Nikon rumor?
I'm talking about that Nikon rumor that GP Review has and Jared Pollan has, but officially the lens is not announced.
Yeah, officially we don't know anything.
Yeah, you know what Grand Mike is, Ricky?
I know what grain jig is.
Yes,
I
so, but yeah, 400, 4.5, it seems like it is coming. So we are looking forward. So according to Nikon rumor, it's coming out next week,
Okay, well, let's see.
you know. But what is the second announcement? That is the question. Is it Z30?
Is it Z70?
Is it Z50 Mark II? Or is it Z8? Definitely not Z8, I can tell you that much.
It's not a Z8, sadly.
Exactly.
So, a couple of other... Oh, have we got more comments?
Yeah, but you
Okay.
go and I'll just quickly
No,
go through
I
them.
was just going to say, most of you will understand the concept of being further away and getting more depth of field the further away you are from your subject. So when it comes to the 50, for example, I think one of my challenges is always that I am wanting to get closer because I prefer this focal length for macro. And then the depth of field is too shallow because you're too close.
And people are praising your teaching skills because they say if Con can do it by listening to Becky, then everyone else can.
Oh, that's nice.
You know.
I appreciate that.
Next time you'll teach me how to write books.
Yeah, maybe. Thank you to Paul for your contribution
Thank
to the
you,
Coffee
Paul.
Fund. Very much appreciated.
We have Wahan in the house as well. Hello.
Roy suggested a flash for bugs. I just have to say, it's just not. It's not very good for them.
Are you going to blind them, isn't it?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I have sort of maybe ethical qualms about using flash for anything organic.
I had this with photographing newborn because I don't want to use lights
No.
on newborn. Just, you know, that's the thing. It's
yeah,
like a bit
natural
like,
light is your friend.
And the thing
or-
is, I don't really know much about babies, but I know that maybe this is not good. I have a feeling.
We have
you
a,
know,
just
so
a,
yeah,
a,
exactly.
a vague
So
feeling. And thank you to Tim for your contribution to the Coffee Fund as well. I hope you're enjoying the atmosphere. It is absolutely beautiful here.
all right, there's a question about focus stacking. So is there specialist software needed, or does Lightroom Photoshop do the job?
Lightroom doesn't do photo stacking, but Photoshop does.
Yeah.
I've heard good and bad things about it. It's good enough if you're just getting started, but otherwise then Helicon Focus.
Helicon
is-
Focus is the one.
is
Yeah.
the one.
I think it's made in Ukraine, so it's a good way to support Ukrainian developers as
Yeah.
well. So
And it is a good piece of software. So if
Yeah.
you are, obviously if you've already got a subscription and you've got Photoshop, then don't hesitate to try it. All the Zs, all the sort of Z6, Z2, Z62, Z72, I can't remember the camera names now, all have focus stacking, so you can just use it.
and then obviously some Nikon cameras have focus shift functionality, which is
It's cool.
actually a focus stacking.
That's what I'm saying. Focus
Yeah.
shift shooting is what Nikon
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah.
And even the D850, D780,
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't use the feature, so that's why I'm a little bit puzzled. I'm sure that is Z7 too.
Z6, Z7,
Yeah.
Z62, Z72 all have focus shift shooting, and Z9 obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got any of those, then you're fine. If you've got a D780 or D850, you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you can just do it manually. There's also that as well.
Tim is enjoying our stream as well. Thank you so much, Tim. He
I'm
says
glad.
this is great,
And
thank you so
Roger.
much, Roger, as well.
Thank you very much. And Vahan is with us today,
Yep.
which is great. Thank you for joining. Yes, we are. David said we're both shooting auto ISO. We are. I limited my ISO so it won't go above 6,400, which I find is kind of the level where I'm okay with it. I don't even really want to shoot at 6,400 if I can help it, so I'm
Yeah.
trying to juggle with my other settings, but that's like my maximum tolerance if it's really, really dark.
That's true. And everyone is different on ISO levels as well. So our advice is do some test shots with different ISOs, see what's tolerable for you. And as well, if you know how your software handles noise reduction, so
Yeah.
maybe you have some specific setting for Lightroom or Capture One, then you can even push your ISO a little bit further if you need to.
Yeah, exactly that. And David says Helicon has a trial period.
Yeah,
so you can
and then Nick
also do
Harris
that.
has had a comment. So Photoshop photo stacking is restrictive, nowhere as good as Helicon. So here you have
There
it.
you go. Someone who's used both, which is great. Simon Stafford also suggests Helicon because he has used both and says that it's far more useful if you're seriously doing focus stacking.
All right, let's
There's
go
a
up a
few
little bit, so-
agreements on that actually. There we go. Yeah, don't forget to hit like. Please.
Are there any rattlesnakes in here?
No rattlesnakes.
Okay, so we're
Just
good then.
dragonflies and the occasional pigeon. We are in London. I mean, no rattlesnakes. It is a really lovely spot to actually take pictures though. So if you are in London or visiting, then you can pop in, you can buy a ticket on the door. We booked tickets because I was definitely planning to come here.
I got here for free because Becky paid for it.
That's
so
right. And
I'm a free rider.
and they do tours as part of it actually, which if we didn't have to rush back to the shop, I would do the tour at
Yeah,
the
I think
end.
it's every hour. So
I
if
might
you're
actually
in
just do it.
London, it's a nice hidden gem, isn't
Sleepy
it?
face.
Yeah. No, I didn't know this thing existed because
Yeah.
I live next to Battersea Park.
I take you to all the best places.
Exactly. You know me, Becky.
I do. I know you love flowers. So believe it or not, I'm not that interested in taking pictures of flowers per se, but more the different textures and plants
I'm
and
shocked, Becky.
things.
I am
Stop
shocked.
looking at me
Completely
like that.
shocked.
So I thought that would be kind of your
My
vibe.
jam?
Yeah.
I want to see if I can find a frog in there or
Look
something.
at this bumblebee. I don't know if you'll find a frog. Although
Frog,
it is
are
the
you
right
over there? Come on.
Yes, that's how you attract frogs.
Yeah.
Is to say.
Come on. Come on.
But you've got the right lens for bees and things. So
No,
if
I would
you,
say, oi, mate.
So if
come
you
on.
want to do, so if you want to try and get some dragonflies or some bees, you can sort
Well,
of.
dragonflies, because they're hovering and not in the same place, I think it's going to be
very
quite difficult. Yeah.
You have to almost kind of anticipate where they're going to be. There's a cute little bumblebee there. You need a very fast shutter speed to get his wings.
Okay.
He's going to go away by the time you've.
Yeah.
focused.
All right. Well, what I'm going to do is just stick it to
Someone's
manual.
going to be able to tell me how many thousandths of a second you need to freeze a bee's wings. Is it 4,000th of a second?
That's a good
I
question.
think it's about that.
But I have a question for you. Where the injured bees go?
What do you do with the sick bee?
Yeah. What do you do with a sick bee?
You take it to the hospital.
That's kind of humor we are famous for.
That's
so,
my
you know.
my son's
That's her
favorite
son's joke, and it's
his
amazing.
Absolute favorite joke. I love it. So, is it working?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
good. We're still rolling. We haven't
are
just
still
suddenly
rolling.
stopped.
So let's say if you're talking about macro lenses, yeah. So we're obviously talking about Z glass here, but let's say if you are a DSLR user,
Yeah.
what kind of f-mount lenses would you recommend? I mean, from autofocus range and also from manual focus range, Becky.
I've had them all. I've had every single one. So I can tell you. So one of my favorites for that kind of not too clinically sharp look is actually the 70 to 180. It produces this very, I don't know how to describe it, but almost like a vintage look to your macro photos. Love the 70 to 180 for that. It's also very flexible. Doesn't do one-to-one. You need a filter for one-to-one reproduction. Special filter that Nikon produced called a 6T close-up filter.
And it's quite rare nowadays, isn't it? They didn't make many.
No.
So there is actually like a small waiting list for
There's
one.
a small collector's market for
Yeah.
those. My kind of go-to macros on my D700s on up, we've got D780s, we've got 70 to 180s in stock, yeah.
Yeah, have a look. I mean, we have lots of second-hand lenses.
We
So
just don't have 6Ts in stock.
6Ts are very expensive, especially if you can get one in nice condition without actually coatings coming off.
Yeah.
You're looking at something like 200 plus pounds.
Yeah, £200 to £300
Yeah,
for those.
easily.
But the 70 to 180 we do have in stock, and we just started a 10% off on our second hand. Did you know that?
Oh,
It's until the 4th of July. So it's until the 4th of July, but the code, because Becky logic, is June 22.
yeah.
So
I like how we casually promote things
just throw
on
it
our
in
shop.
there. Anyway,
Just casually.
in case you're interested.
Here you go, there's 1.5 lens. It's also in stock.
It is. So let me answer your original question.
Yes. You start with 70 to 180 lens. What else do we have there?
The 60 2.8G, both the D and the G are very good.
Yes, I had both. I'd say G is obviously because it's AFS, it's nicer. It's nicer, but if you need the aperturing, again, maybe you have FM camera, you know, so then, yeah, D is also very good. I mean, they were, back in the day, before they were like 400 pounds, you could buy brand new for about 230 pounds.
Yeah, and they went up and up and up.
Yeah.
The G version is lovely. I had the D. I didn't like it that much. The G I much preferred, and I used it for a very long time. The 105 F mount we've talked about before.
Yep.
It's a good staple. This one is much nicer if you've got a Z camera.
Oh, yeah.
The 200 F4D is incredible, but very slow to focus. So it's good for insects if you are happy to manual focus and kind of trust your judgment on that. And then you've obviously got the old classics, the 55 3.5 and the 55 2.8 that Andy was talking about earlier.
Which one is better?
Actually, the 55 2.8 for reproduction is better, edge to edge. I really liked my 55 3.5. It's a very good lens. Do you remember Tony? Back in the day, Tony?
Oh yes, he sweared by them.
Absolutely loved the 3.5.
Yeah, he would go to Japan and he would buy like 30 or 40 in one trip.
Yeah. So I was very fond of the 3.5, and you can use those on obviously any Nikon camera. So even the Zs with an FTZ adapter.
Yeah.
So there is a beauty to having a manual focus lens, and then it's just an extension tube, as I said, to get one-to-one reproduction. But then you are focusing very close, so I often didn't use it with the extension tube.
That's true. And then, like, my experience with macro photography is the product shots, basically. And that's why 50-60 focal distance. That's what normally I would use for those. Shot a lot with 60D as well, with D200 back in the day. So you got 90 mil there. So that was nice.
I like that combination.
Yeah. So and then. Do I still have G60? No, I think I sold it now. But it says if you do like watches, jewelry, this is the nice lens to get as well. So, you know, and you don't need to go super close. Therefore, you're not going to obstruct any lighting equipment or anything like this. And obviously, if you do reproduction tabletop stuff, that's also quite nice with those lenses, because with 105, your lens has to be quite far away. I was shooting in Italy, the tabletop stuff. And basically your camera is on a boom, some sort of boom.
Right.
So it's above there, you got a USB cable connects to the computer, so you have the live view on your computer, let's say on Capture One, and you're taking shot from your computer. So 60 made sense, a lot more sense.
Would make a lot more sense for that.
Exactly.
I have a question.
Yes.
Have you ever used the 45 PC micro or the 85 PC micro?
I used H5 for food photography.
Oh yeah.
So, and the beauty of that, because it's got a bit of macro facility, but obviously your depth of field is horizontal.
I know, which is confusing.
So with the obviously tilt and shift lens, you can move your depth of field to be almost vertical. So therefore, imagine you got a strawberry.
Yeah.
And let's say you got a little bit of chocolate sauce at the back.
Yeah, and it goes back like that.
Exactly. So you can make the whole area, while shooting very close up, whole area sharp, and the rest of the place blurred.
Yeah.
So instead of having it horizontal, you kind of move it this way. So this is really good for food type photography. And again, if you do some like product shots, but with a setup where you have small objects in the background as well.
Yes. Okay. That's interesting to know, because that's one I haven't done proper macro photography with. I have shot with the 45, but not at length.
45 is really good for miniature effect photography.
So that kind of toy effect.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Nice.
I mean, you can do it with H5, but 45 because it's a little bit wider.
Yeah.
With 24, you don't get that because your depth of field is a lot greater, so it doesn't look as good. But 45 or H5 are fantastic for that.
Ah, great. Good to know. I thought I'd throw that question in for you, macro expert.
I am, clearly.
I want to take. So
After listening to you, Becky.
Can I swap and give you my?
Here you go.
Can I give you my 50 though?
Yeah, nifty 50. Why not?
But can I put the 105 on the Z7 too?
Ah, you want the
know,
best of both worlds. Okay.
Is that all right?
Okay, hold on. Let me put my phone, so
yeah.
otherwise we're gonna have an accident. So here you go.
Thanks.
Keep your camera facing down,
Keep
not
your camera
this
facing
way.
down.
So
there we go.
what I do enjoy about Z9 is that, well, it light. I took it and it's almost jumped.
I did do the right one.
Yeah, you did do the right one. What I do enjoy about Z9 is they actually shutter cover.
Yes, I know.
It's just
You're a
nice thing to have.
Big fan of the shutter cover.
Have a little bug on the camera over here.
Which one is better, the 50mm or the 105 for insects, butterflies, and flowers?
The 105.
105, yeah.
Because of the working distance. So now I can actually get much closer in my mind. I can get much closer to that lily over there with the 50. I've got way too much going on. I'm actually going to go around this way.
With the 50, basically, Becky would be in the water to get the same magnification. So basically, the idea is for the insect is the further away you are from the subject, and you still get the magnification, the better. So technically, like 200, like they do 200 4D lens for f-mount, would be ideal for this. But in this case, you can use 105, and obviously on high resolution cameras, you can use the high resolution sensor for cropping as well. So 45 megapixel sensor will allow you a bit more cropping than 24 megapixel sensor. So Becky, we're actually wrapping up. It's 3:15. Did you know that?
Time flies when you're having fun. I don't want to go yet.
I don't want to go.
Okay, do we have any other final questions
Good
before
question. Okay, let's see. So Martin says Sigma 150 is really good.
Dixon says shooting insects in flight is harder than birds in flight.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. So what shutter speed do you use? Here's the question to the crowd. So for the little bees, obviously they're flapping much faster
Flapping.
than the birds.
Like vibrating.
They're flappy birds, yes.
Flapping.
Oh, Zeiss Lenses are recommended. They're amazing lenses.
I'd love to try a Zeiss lens.
40DX micro, don't forget this one on the budget. If you use DSLR, something like G3500, 40DX is a really good lens.
I will qualify your statement on the 105 for insects though. If you've got a DX sensor, you can use the 50 because that's what I have. Because I've used the 50 on my Z50.
Because you get 75 mil equivalent,
Exactly.
so technically, you know, so because of
So
the
you're
DX
kind
crop.
of cropping in a bit, which is
Exactly.
helpful. You get one-to-one reproduction. Use any lens that you like. It's just a matter of getting close enough.
Yeah.
We need to move. So out of the way. Should we
So,
wrap up here?
Yeah. John received 105 last week, so he's
Yay!
still waiting for 100 to 400. Well, hopefully,
Yeah.
fingers crossed, you're going to get it
Yeah, we
soon.
can stand here. Exactly. It got busy all of a sudden.
Okay, let's see what we have here. So, yeah, so Roy says using PC macro means you can drop the field of focus where you need to. Less stacking needed. Exactly.
Exactly, yes. I mean, focus stacking is great if you've got the time and patience, and if you could. It's a studio environment thing, really, because when the wind is blowing, you can't focus stack. So there you go. I think we've covered everything.
We're good, yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. Thank you for your contributions to the Coffee Fund. If you haven't liked the stream, please do that before you go. That would be helpful massively. We will be back. You're back from holiday now,
Yeah,
so we'll
we
be
are back on
with,
schedule. Look
with
at all this tan.
I know. With some, Nikon got some beach time there.
Yes. On next video, you're gonna just peel my skin off my
lovely.
face, you know?
So we will be back for the Nikon report next week. We've got a video coming out today, so do feel free to check that out. And have a lovely weekend, all.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like if it's end of June, right, next week.
Yeah.
So the 1st of July on when? On
Friday.
Yeah, so we might get some announcement next week.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Exciting. All right, have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, you can't actually walk away. You have to actually close the stream.
It's a nice segue here. Like we
Bye.
just